Imagine waking up one morning to discover that the ocean has swallowed the edges of your town. Streets you once walked are gone, replaced by waves and debris. This is not a scene from a distant future. It's the unfolding reality of global climate change. Around the world, rising temperatures, intensifying storms, and shifting weather patterns are transforming the places we call home. And with each change, people are being forced to move. The link between climate change and human migration is becoming one of the defining stories of our century. Scientists warn that by 2050, hundreds of millions of people may be displaced by environmental pressures. Coastal cities face the greatest risks. Sea levels are rising faster than predicted, threatening megacities like Dhaka, Jakarta, Miami, and Lagos. In some places, the ocean has already claimed farmland and homes, pushing families inland. Island nations such as the Maldives and Kiribati confront an existential question. What happens when your entire homeland disappears beneath the sea? For many, relocation is no longer a choice. It's survival. But it's not just coastlines that are at risk. Inland regions face their own challenges. Expanding deserts in Africa and the Middle East are making once fertile lands uninhabitable. Farmers in the Sahel region of Africa watch their crops fail as rainfall becomes unpredictable. In Central America, repeated droughts have devastated harvests, driving thousands northward in search of work and food security. Extreme heat, once a rare event, is becoming the norm, making outdoor labor dangerous and disrupting the rhythms of everyday life. Water scarcity adds another layer to this crisis. Rivers that once sustained millions are drying up, fueling tensions between communities and nations. The Indus, the Colorado, the Nile, these lifelines are shrinking, sparking conflicts over access and rights. When water becomes scarce, migration becomes a necessity. People are forced to abandon ancestral lands and move to cities already straining under the weight of growing populations. Urban centers swell, creating new challenges of overcrowding, inadequate housing, and pressure on infrastructure. The societal implications of this mass displacement are profound. Migration at this scale reshapes economies, politics, and cultures. Host regions often struggle to provide resources for sudden influxes of people. Jobs, schools, and healthcare systems can become overwhelmed. In some cases, competition for limited resources ignites tensions between newcomers and long-time residents. Political movements exploit these fears, framing climate migrants as outsiders or threats, even though these individuals are victims of a global problem that knows no borders. We must also recognize the deep emotional toll on those who move. Climate migrants are not just leaving behind homes. They are leaving behind histories, identities, and traditions tied to their land. Entire ways of life, from fishing communities in the Pacific Islands to pastoral herders in East Africa, are at risk of vanishing. Cultural loss is an often invisible consequence of climate displacement, yet it lingers long after people resettle. The economic costs are staggering as well. Relocating entire communities requires massive investments in housing, infrastructure, and support services. Governments must plan for everything from flood defenses to refugee assistance programs. Failing to act early could mean even higher costs later, both financially and socially. Experts stress that proactive adaptation, such as building resilient cities, improving disaster response, and supporting sustainable agriculture, is far cheaper than reacting after crises occur. Yet there is also resilience and innovation in the face of these challenges. Some cities are rethinking their design, creating green infrastructure to absorb floodwaters and reduce heat. Farmers are experimenting with drought-resistant crops. International organizations are developing frameworks to protect the rights of climate migrants, advocating for policies that treat them with dignity and fairness. Technology offers tools for better prediction of extreme weather and smarter resource management. These efforts show that while the future is daunting, it is not hopeless. Still, the scale of the problem demands global cooperation. Climate change does not respect borders, and neither will the displacement it causes. Nations must work together to reduce emissions, slow the pace of warming, and provide support for those already affected. Wealthier countries, responsible for the majority of historical emissions, carry a moral obligation to assist vulnerable populations who bear the brunt of climate impacts, despite contributing the least to the crisis. For individuals, awareness is the first step. Understanding the connection between our daily choices, global emissions, and human displacement can drive action. Supporting sustainable practices, voting for leaders committed to climate solutions, and aiding organizations that help displaced communities are ways to make a difference. The migration crisis of tomorrow is being shaped by the decisions we make today. In the end, the story of climate-driven migration is not just about numbers or policies. It's about people, families forced to leave the places where their ancestors lived for generations, children growing up in new lands with memories of a lost home, communities adapting and redefining themselves in the face of change. It is a test of our shared humanity. Will we respond with empathy and cooperation, or with walls and division? The answer will define the century ahead. Global climate change is not a distant threat. It is here, reshaping our world and displacing millions. But how we respond can still alter the outcome. We stand at a crossroads. One path leads to conflict and suffering, the other to resilience and unity. The choice and the responsibility belongs to all of us.